Hi, today I'm going to do a really beautiful illuminated blush look, and this is a picture that I put on my Instagram last week. Lots of people asked me what were the products that I'd used, but it was a shot that I'd done maybe 10 years ago, so I couldn't remember the exact products, but I remembered that it was a creamy or a liquid blush mixed with a cream or liquid highlighter. So I'm going to show you today how to get that same look using more updated products. So I'm starting with this illuminating primer. This is by Juice Beauty, which is an organic brand, which I really like. And I'm applying it just around the outsides of my face because I have larger pores around my nose, chin and centre of my forehead. It's a little bit oily down the centre. I don't usually put anything with pearl and frostiness around that area just because it can really highlight the pore size. The other reason I like this product is because it goes on, feels quite creamy. It's silicone free, which is nice, but it goes on creamy, but it sets quite matte, like it's not greasy in any way. It doesn't feel at all greasy. So just really building up that illumination, and it's very, very subtle. So it's not kind of, although it's giving you that illuminated look, it's not turning you into a sort of disco ball. Now on top of that, I'm going to use foundation. I'm going to use Vitalumiere Aqua. This is quite a light foundation-y look I'm going to do. Starting around the centre of my face, just really working that in. And then I'm going to buff out over the illuminator as there's less on the brush, and that will pick up some of the highlight. But again, it's keeping it really seamless. Giving you that very sort of glossy, beautified skin that I always used to call expensive looking skin. So I'm keeping a little bit of that glow just coming through. It is subtle, but I do have some concealing to do here, as you can see, but I'm going to do that afterwards. So before I do any concealing under the eyes or any kind of pinpoint concealing, I'm going to do the blush. The reason I'm going to do it now is because it needs to be part of the skin if it's going to be really in synergy and look really beautiful, which is how I like it to look. And you sort of need to do it as part of the skin for it to look like that. So I'm kind of sandwiching it in between, kind of priming and doing foundation and doing the concealer. So it's kind of in the middle so that everything will be part of the skin. So for blush, I'm going to use a Glossier Cloud Paint. I'm using this because I also did another post with various new products that I had, and I asked everyone which products they'd like to see in action, and this was one of them most requested. So this is kind of a creamy, it's almost like a gel, but it's a very creamy gel. And it's something that I would use before you've used any powder, so on top of a liquid foundation. You can still use it if you've got a couple of spots and things, so you can always conceal in a second. But I'm going to start with fingers, kind of starting at the fleshiest bit of the cheek. So kind of just to the right, if you look straight ahead and you've got your sort of pupils, it's just to the right of that. You can feel like the fattest part of your cheek there. And then just start to blend. Because lots of these creams and gels and liquids, they do set quite quickly. It's good to have your foundation brush on hand, and then you can just go around the edge. Don't put any new product on this, so you've only got a tiny bit left on it from before, but it will just help to really keep it kind of together. And better to build up slowly, so start off with maybe not enough on and then put another layer on. And again, buff. I'm going to make it look more highlighty and mix it with the highlighter, but I'm going to just get this first layer on, which is very much part of the skin. This will be very much blushing from within. And just work from the back of your hand. Put a tiny bit on the back of your hand and work from there so you're not constantly squeezing the tube and getting too much out. So before I do highlighter, I'm just going to do some concealing underneath my eyes. And I just need to make sure this is thinned out enough that it blends in with the rest of the foundation and almost seamlessly blends into the blush as well. So we don't get any harsh edges that we can't see where it sort of begins and where it ends. Oops. So just feathering that down so I can buff that. You can use a sponge if you want to blend edges. And then I'm just finishing off with some more pinpoint concealing. Just on any little blemishes and marks. There's one here which is kind of in the middle of the blush, but I'm going to do that afterwards. I'll show you how to do that. So now on top of this, I'm going to use some cream highlighter. So this is just really pumping up. We had the kind of illuminating primer underneath. This is just going to add some shine. So I'm going to start at the high point and have it quite sort of shiny there. And because this is liquid, it's still working with all the liquids that I've applied. We haven't had any powder yet. And then I'm going to mix the illuminator, the highlighter, with the cream blush. So we've got a combination of the two. Just to blend that last bit. So it's almost, we're going from a very light highlighter towards a kind of illuminated blush, and then we've got the sort of majority of the colour underneath that. And I'm just keeping going with this brush, which has a tiny little bit of foundation left on it, but hardly any. And it also has a little bit of the concealer and a little bit of the blush on it, so it's sort of got a bit of everything. So we've got these sort of layers of colour, layers of gradation. And to finish off with my fingers, I'm just going to add a little bit of highlighter and a tiny bit of cream blush, and just add a more intense pop of colour right at the centre, so you've got this diffusion from strong through to kind of nothing. So I'm going to do one more little bit of concealing, which is just here. I don't know if you can see, but I've got a tiny bit of pigmentation there, which I'd like to cover. So I'm using my concealer brush with concealer. I've added a tiny bit of the pink blush and the illuminator. So it's slightly pinker than before. Then this will just help it to conceal without sticking out. Need a bit more blush. So it kind of takes away the thing, but you can't see the difference. And that works if you've got one or two little spots on your cheeks. If you do have acne on this area, then this kind of technique won't really work, because you're using lots of creams, and any highlighting will kind of show off any bumps or spots that you have in that area, or blemishes. If you want to achieve this look if you do have a lot of blemishes on your cheeks, it's better to do your foundation and your concealing and set all of that, and then using a similar colour blush and a similar coloured highlighter, but with a powder, and just applying it very lightly with a nice light brush, buffing the colour on, so you're not disturbing the concealing that you've done. You'll have a similar effect, it just won't be quite as liquidy or quite as dewy, but it's much better to do it that way if you do have acne on your cheeks. So now's the time to powder. The amount of powder you use will really depend on your skin type and how much shine you have to cope with. I'm going to do all of this part of my face, the centre, going on to the centre of the cheeks, but I'm going to leave all of this with the illuminator showing through. So we've got layers and layers there. We've got the primer, we've got the glowiness from the dewy blush and the actual highlighter. So I want all of that to show. Whereas this centre of my forehead, and particularly where I've done concealing, anywhere here, I'm going to powder. And if there are any kind of open pores even here on this part of the cheek, you can just lightly buff over. It will just blend, but it will keep, you'll still have the feeling of the illuminator coming through. For my eyes, I'm going to keep them very simple. I'm going to use this cream eyeshadow Colorstay by Revlon because I love this colour. This brush actually comes in the lid, so it's quite portable. So this just gives a sort of slightly glossy lid, but quite long wearing. And it's a really nice golden bronze. I'm also going to use that underneath all the way along. I'm just curling my eyelashes. A really good curl. And then applying lots of black mascara. I'm going to put some lashes on as well, just so it's kind of very separated and I've got more of a kind of big open eye. So I'm just going to drop a couple of lashes on. These are just the little individual clumps. If you want to see how to apply these, I made a video just about applying individual lashes, so have a look at that. So while that glue is drying, I'm just going to fill my brows in a little bit. So the glue's white, you can see, that's going to dry clear. So just filling in with the powder and brushing a lot. Just going to fill in but not have them too strong. Because I'm going to do quite a glossy lip with this look. And then under the waterline, I'm just lining with some dark chocolatey brown gel liner. So this is just because you can kind of see the individual roots of the lashes a little bit, the fake lashes that I've used. I'm just lining. It's quite hard to do. It always makes my eyes water, which is why I take ages to do it. But I find it, for me personally, it's easier with a brush and a little pot of gel liner than it is with a pencil, which just makes my eyes go crazy. I can do it on other people, but not on myself. So just really kind of stroking the roots of the lashes and the upper waterline. So I'm just using a pencil all over my lips and to create a shape, because I'm going to use a gloss on top, which obviously isn't going to give me any shape. And over top of that, I'm going to use some gloss. It's like the right time of the year for gloss again. I'm just finishing off by adding a tiny little bit more blush. You can kind of tell once the lips are on if you can get away with a hint more. And that's it. That's the very illuminated blush that you saw on my Instagram, and that's how I achieved that look. So do let me know how you get on with this look. Send me your pictures, #MyLisaLook, and I love to see how you recreate the looks. Take care.